What up, High and Wide fam, and our listeners on 102.9 The Game. Welcome back to another edition of Midnight Misconduct. I'm Delco Dave, joined by Derek and Paul as always. Derek, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. It's been a long week, but it's been a good banner week at the cheesesteak shop, dude. We've been setting daily highs regularly, just
Nice.
career high after career high, so that's been going well.
Like Travis Konechny, man.
Yeah, man. Paul, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm good.
All right,
send us some
so
cheesesteaks at some point.
I would love to have the whole crew come out sometime and just hang out for a weekend or something like that. Do like a college football game. We could check out a USHL game with the Lincoln Stars.
HW does Lincoln.
Yeah, dude, we're making a documentary. We can make it a whole thing. Yeah, take over all the social media platforms.
There we go, man. I used to film. I could do that.
Yeah, hell yeah. I actually I don't know if I mentioned this, but so I had this episode air before on ABR, and somebody locally saw it, and they wanted to come down and do their own like version of it. So they actually came down and filmed me for like 5 hours in the shop and made it more of like a documentary style thing. And it's going to come out in a few months. I'm kind of excited about it.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's been a fun little ride lately. So for everybody listening, we were talking before the show that we didn't have much of a format lined up, so we're going to try something a little different tonight. I've never really seen any other show or podcast kind of do it the way we're going to try to do it tonight. And I'm on the spot. I'm putting myself on the I'm putting myself up to the plate first. So I'm going to put it out there. We've had some iconic athletes come through Philadelphia that truly like seem to embody the city. You have some that have been really great, but didn't seem to mesh with the city itself and the fan base. 5, McNabb comes to mind, like a talented player, had like a really very good career here, but just for whatever reason didn't seem to mesh with the fan base in the city. Then you have other people like Jason Kelsey, right? Claude Giroux, right? These guys that Roy Halladay is another one that comes to mind. Bryce Harper currently. Who on the Flyers? Travis Konechny isn't in this. Not Sean Couture's in it. Who would be the next Flyer to step up, prospect, or already on the roster? So let's say under 22. You have to be under 22 for this one. That could be a Philadelphia icon. Derek, send it to you first, man.
I think this is an easy one, and I'm sorry, Paul. I'm taking the low-hanging fruit here. Michkov. I mean, he's the stud. He's the star. He's the guy that everybody's going to gravitate to because he's the big name. If he can come over here and put up Ovechkin-like numbers, like everybody's saying, because he's breaking all these records over in the KHL, that's your guy right there.
You think the city's going to embrace him like that, though, too? Like, personality. Is he going to have the personality to pull the fan base in, or you just rely on skill and stats alone?
I think the personality will shine through. It might take a little bit. I mean, it took a little bit with Ovi, but like he showed a little bit of personality, as the years went by. So it'll be a slow adjustment, but the stats will bridge to the point where Michkov can start showing the personality. I mean, he showed a little bit of personality in KHL too, so I think it'll shine through eventually.
I mean, I think Michkov's got a little more feistiness than people might think coming out of the draft. And then if he's producing the way we expect him to, I don't think the personality is going to matter all that much to the fans. But yeah, it's a pretty good pick. Let's see. I want to kind of go with like a Denver Barkey, but I guess I'll stick with a little safer pick and go. I think Tyson Forster is going to be a big part of this team for a long time. The more I watch him this year, the more I enjoy his play. Defensively, I feel like coming in, we thought he was the shooter, might score 20, 30 goals, but probably not much defensively. He's been like Noah Cates was last year. The defense has been awesome. He's attention to detail is great. Last game or the other day against Pittsburgh, he took the shot off the knee, missed like a shift, came right back, scored a goal late. I just feel like he's gonna keep getting better. He's tough. He plays the game the right way, and he's gonna be a big part of the team. Fans will enjoy him as he starts scoring a little more.
So, Paul, what Flyer of yesteryear would you give his comp to?
That's a good question. Hard to think of one right on the spot here.
I mean, Primo kind of comes to mind, but they don't play the same position. But like you said, I think he has a more well-rounded game than people give him credit for. And
yeah, for sure.
I mean, I that was one of the things. Primo carried a lot of teams on his back. Like there wasn't a lot of people around him when he not that they never won anything with him, but Primo gave us some highlights and some memories for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, obviously that Pittsburgh goal is like one of the biggest in Flyers history.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty tough one to top. I think Forster will have some big goals for us. I don't know who I'd compare him to, but yeah, he's got the two-way game. I think he's going to become a big scorer for us. Unleash that one-timer a little more as he gets more comfortable. I'll try to think of somebody. I don't know if I have one off the top of my head here. Derek, can you think of anybody?
I have one, but like I don't know how well received this is going to be. I'm thinking like just personality wise, when Forrester gets really comfortable, I could totally see like a Jeremy Roenick type.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow, that'd be fun.
Right? Like that was in the forefront of my mind. I'm like, that's a fun hockey player.
Yeah, I love JR, man.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
when he stepped foot
not
on the
many
ice with the
players
Bobby
had-
Clark wig.
Yeah, not many players had more fun on the ice than JR did, and
Mhm.
he made it fun to watch too. He was always
Right.
like that guy at the All-Star game too. They would mic up and he was joking around the whole game.
Yeah,
Mhm.
my podcast partner on Behind the Stripes actually discussed him. He was officiating his first NHL All-Star game, Dave Jackson, Behind the Stripes. Roenick was in that game, right? And they're getting ready to start this game. And Dave was discussing, like, I don't know, like how, like, handle this. Like, it's supposed to be like, an All-Star game. He's like, what am I really going to be doing here? And the first shift, Roenick crushes somebody, like just smashes them into the boards. And Dave's like, shit, I'm going to have to ref this game. Like, it's a real game. So apparently he said something to Roenick, and then even like Roenick's teammates on the All-Star bench are like, dude, like chill, like we're not doing this today.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
right, Derek.
that'd be pretty awesome if he turned into something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, Derek, your question, man.
All right, my question here is, all things considered, are you trading Nick Seeler or are you trading Sean Walker? I'll go to you, Paul.
What? It's one or the other.
One or the other. Everything all encompassed, situation the team's in, type of player, yada yada yada. Who's the guy you're trading?
I think it's got to be a Walker, just because I imagine the return would be bigger. I think Sealer. I mean, both were kind of journeymen in a way before they came here, and both have upped their value a ton. I just think the right-handed shot, a little bit better skater. The shine's a little higher on him this year. I think you're probably getting a bigger return for Walker. Sealer's also pretty fun with the physicality, and especially when we're not skating Delorier every night, you still have a guy in there that can throw him a little bit. So I think I got to go with Walker on that one.
All right, Dave.
Yeah. It's not gonna make it very fun, but I actually agree with Paul. But really, because I want to keep Sealer in the orange and black. Like, I mean, return aside, I mean, Walker will get the bigger return. I just love Sealer, man. Like, that's a guy I hope he stays here for another 6-7 years. Like, you know what I mean? I hope he becomes a staple, the alumni. He seems like he has a great personality. Like, I want him to be a part of the Flyers organization in some capacity for the next 20 years. I hope he's color commentating with whoever the next play-by-play guy is how I feel about Sealer. I want him up there making comments on the games.
I don't know you like Sealer as much as Hogs like Paul Lawton.
That's a heck of a task right there, man.
Poor Hoagie if Maltz gets traded, man.
We're gonna
well-being if that happens.
Yeah, we'll have a moratorium episode of Pod Street when that happens, just for Hoagie.
If Maltz gets traded, we should actually buy Lawton's new jersey with the new team and just send it to Hogue as a gift.
We'll never hear from him again.
Sign it too. Act like it's Lawton.
Right.
What about you, Derek? You trading Walker or Sealer?
I'm trading Walker. I think Paul's point, bigger return. Sealer, I think, is a fan favorite. Not to say that Walker's not, but like what Sealer does,
Yeah.
he is attaching himself to this fan base by doing what he does. The igniting the team with the fights, the big hits, the physicality. Like that's what Philadelphia hockey is encompassed in. You know, that people love that type of stuff here in Philadelphia. So that's the type of guy you want to keep around, especially if you're building a core. Walker nets you a better return, which means more / better, hopefully, pieces to add to the rebuild here.
So you're saying my long-term view of Sealer being a color commentator played no role in your decision-making there?
A little bit. A little bit. I mean, we've seen how many former players do it, so like there is certainly the chance.
that previous question of like becoming a prototypical Flyer fan favorite, that like Sealer plays exactly that style. So like you were saying, Derek.
Right.
All right, Paul, your question, man.
All right, let's go with all right, what's like your favorite underrated Flyers moment? So not like, you know, we all like the Giroux overtime goal against the Blackhawks, you know, the big goals. What's your most underrated favorite Flyers moment?
He going through first.
I'll go to you, Dave.
David Krejci getting injured in the third game of the 2010 playoff series because it turned the whole series on its head. I was there for that game, and I threw crab fries with cheese loaded into the back of the head of these Bruins fans who were just flipping people off. I ran across 2 sections to do it. I, to this day, still remember that game. And then he turned around and ended up being the reverse sweep. It was awesome. So, yeah, game 3 of the 2010 playoff series.
No hesitation.
Yo, as soon I'm like, all right, where's he going with this? I'm like, oh yeah, like it was like a bullet rotating into the chamber.
Right. Oh, mine came down to 2, and like I was gonna go serious and pick the game where it was Lemieux's final game in Philadelphia, big standing ovation, like really shows that, you know, Philadelphia is a classy joint. However, in keeping with the tone of the answers here, I'm going to say the game against Chicago, where the whole crowd joined in chanting "She said no" when Patrick Kane hit the ice, because I was there. There were 3 Blackhawks fans in front of me. I was with my mother, and my mother loved the woman to death, is the reason I got into hockey the way I'm into hockey right now. And they came in, the first thing they said, "It's going to be a long night for you Flyers fans," and the Flyers won the game. And like after they're chanting "She said no," they're all looking around like in disgust. They're like, "This is your fan base?" And my mom looks at him. She's like, "These are my people." I'm like, Jess Bob. I love her. Oh, I just laughed. I'm like, "Have fun on the drive home, you schmucks."
That's awesome, man. I love that. That's beautiful.
Oh, it was great. Absolutely great.
My mom's so reserved that like she would never do something like that. Like
my mom can be, but like when you let her off the leash, man, she's a good time.
All right, so we've touched on it. You know, Philadelphia, it's a junior town, it's a blue collar town, hardworking town. We've talked about this multiple times, but backups in general have played major roles, I think, in pivotal moments. You know, overthrow a lot of sports. So Nick Foles aside, you can pick any of the major 4. Nick Foles aside, what utility player, pinch hitter, backup, 6-man, whatever you want to call, who is the quintessential Philadelphia backup who's made an impact in this city and on their particular franchise? Paul, you go first on this one.
Oh man, so I'm gonna go second on this one.
I threw to Derek first last time. I had to alternate.
Yeah, that's fair. So many sports you gotta consider here. I mean, you got Jeff Garcia. He's our baby. I know Derek's not going to think about the Eagles at least, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You don't have to worry about Derek for the Eagles. That's true.
I might, though. A couple curveballs in my arsenal here.
I'm gonna go with our favorite commentator now, Brian Boucher. It's funny. I feel like it's funny because Philly has we can't find a goalie and we have a reputation of being hard on guys. And Bush was a first round pick and like didn't become this stud goalie. So you'd think that he wouldn't be so beloved. He really carved out like such a big fan base, I feel like, in Philly. He's like always been a team favorite, a fan favorite. He's stuck with the organization after. He came in clutch in some of those playoff series. He had the Elias save and then the playoff run. Unfortunately got hurt, but was a part of that team and then stuck with the franchise. Now he's a great commentator. I feel like everyone loves Boosh.
Yeah, and he's the definition of like that working man's version of a professional athlete. He bounced around from the AHL, NHL a lot. Like in between his runs with the Flyers and setting the modern day shutout streak record, he was playing with a bunch of minor league teams. So it was like all over the place. Like, I mean, he had some
he had a hell of a carear.
Yeah, he had some real peaks, but also a ton of valleys too. Like,
yeah, he really, like you said, he had the shutout record. Big high there, but I feel like in general was more of a 1B or a backup, with just some stretches of good play here and there, and somehow was still pretty beloved everywhere he went.
I mean, well, even the 2010 run, he only won 5 games that year, if I remember correctly. Like that was the year that Flyers goalie had a shutout.
They went through like 8 goalies that year, didn't they?
Yeah. Mike McKinnon was one of the goalies.
McKenna, Pickard, Stellars, Hart.
That's a good trivia question. Name them all.
Yeah,
right.
8 goalies. Not one of them got a shutout. Boucher won 5 games, but he was also the one that won the last game of the season against the Rangers in the shootout to get us into the playoffs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Great celebration on the win, on the save on Jokinen.
Yep.
He got hurt, I think, in Game 3 of that Boston series. But at the same time, if he's playing against Chicago, do we win? Maybe.
I feel like he wouldn't let that goal in.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. Leighton. Michael Leighton.
What a story that would have been, too. When was he drafted? 99 or something? And then
98 or 99. I think him and Gagne were the same draft year, weren't they?
Okay.
Yeah.
And it would have been a cool story if 2010 he's the Stanley Cup winning goalie. Bring it back.
Yeah. All right, Derek, over to you, bro.
All right. Sticking with the Flyers here. Ville Leino.
Big Ville style.
Ville Leino, that run that he had with the Cup Finals in 2010 and setting was it the rookie scoring record or just for the Flyers? Either way, very impressive run. And, out of somebody that nobody really expected, I mean, I think they bumped him up all the way to the first line for a couple games. And he played well, man. Put him with some good guys, and, he stepped up to the plate when they needed him.
He also
paid big time.
Yeah, he's also like Nick Foles. I was going to say, like, has a great year for a Philadelphia team, signs a big money contract, and then just disappears. Like that's the Nick Foles special, man. That's the Nick Foles special. One great year for the Eagles. All right, go sign a big contract, do nothing.
That line of him, Briere, and Hartnell was just the chemistry was through the roof.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think Briere was the one driving that, though, man. Like, if they won the Cup that year, there'd be a statue of Briere out there. You know what I mean?
Mr. Playoffs.
Right?
Yeah.
You have no idea how much I wanted to say Darryl Powell, but he just didn't do enough to actually get picked. But for some reason, I always loved Darryl Powell.
I would have backed
Blair Betts.
I like Darryl. They were like the greatest penalty killers combination ever. You almost wanted to not play them at even strength, so you just go out there for the full 2 minutes on a penalty kill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just don't even put them out there 5-on-5. Like, you guys are here for one job. Like Matt Stairs for the Phillies, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're here for one thing. Go out there, swing the bat, and hit a home run. You're here to kill penalties, and that's it. Be quiet.
But I can play third line minutes. No.
All right, Derek, your question.
All right, so we'll get a little bit more serious here. What is the most disgusted you've ever been as a Philadelphia fan of any team? I'll start with you, Dave.
Oh, man, I don't want to take the layup right now. We were literally just talking about this. All right, I'm going to take it just because I had a pretty unique conversation with one of my non-hockey fan friends last night. Carter Hart, man, with what's going on with everything going on right now. And again, this is the layup. I get it, but the text message I got was from my buddy last night, and it was something on somebody posted on Twitter, and it was like Carter Hart will always suck, and that was like the comment that somebody made last night about something else, right? So my buddy texts me that. He goes, Dave, I don't know what he's talking about, but I agree. And I texted him the details of what was going on, and he goes, holy shit, man, I just thought like he let up 5 goals or something like that. What's happening right now? So then I went down the rabbit hole for like an hour talking to him. That was because he just doesn't watch, like, he's a Philly sports fan, but like, he's an Eagles, Phillies, Sixers guy. He just doesn't watch the Flyers. You know what I mean? So like, I'm his go-to source for Flyers news. So I had this whole like hour-long conversation with him explaining what was going on and trying to go into like, as much detail as I could. But I'll be honest, this is probably the most disgusted I've been as far as like somebody that's worn the jersey and represented the city in a franchise that I love, have been a fan of for years, that I literally have a tattoo on my chest. Like, I love this team. And like, I think innocent until proven guilty. We've said it multiple times. We've covered this topic before, so I'm not assuming anything, but it doesn't look good. So that's where I'm at. And like I said, I know that's the low hanging fruit, but when you asked it, I immediately thought of the conversation I had last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's one of the more disgusting things to happen. Is like in the Philly sports world. I don't necessarily blame the Flyers or the fan base or anything.
No.
Whereas I was thinking with this question, I was more towards if I was embarrassed, like as a fan. Probably the night where we threw all the Ed Snyder bracelets was the worst one for me. I'm always defending Philly fans here. I mean, sometimes I don't care if people hate us. Sometimes I'll defend. That one was like, all right, we stop throwing these things. Like this is a bad look.
Yeah.
So that was the first one that came to my mind.
Oh, my bad, Derek. If I didn't answer the question correctly.
No, you did. You did.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was supposed to be directed just to the fan base. I was thinking like, as
anything.
a fan base. Okay.
Yeah, anything Philly sports related, like the most, like, how were you most disgusted? By,
I was
like,
also disgusted when I saw people licking horse shit at this Eagle parade. If it has to be fan base directed, I'd go with that one right there. That would be the one.
You stole mine. You stole it right out of my mouth. You stole the horse shit right out of my mouth.
I wasn't trying to say you answered wrong. I was just interpreting it differently.
I thought maybe I heard it wrong. I'm like, okay. I'm like, maybe I messed up right there.
I think I'm going to go back to the Royal Rumble years ago when it was in Philly and everybody booed The Rock. I was disgusted. I'm like, how do you boo the people's champ? Like, that just blows my mind. And I'm just like, this is shameful. Absolutely shameful. If it was peak Rock, he'd have let him hear it. But it was like, Hollywood Rock, just coming back for a couple days, and he's just like, you guys aren't worth it. And that in and of itself is disgusting. And Philadelphia wasn't even worth a response.
All right, Paul, you're up, man. Your question.
All right, let's go to the question everyone wants to know is, are the Flyers going to win a cup under Danny Briere's tenure? Go to Derek first.
Yes. It might take a couple years, but it'll happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be this year. They're gonna sneak in eighth. They're gonna sneak in, third in the Metro. And it's gonna be similar to when they snuck in as the 7th seed, and they're gonna go on a run. I'm saying it this year. They're gonna keep Walker. They're gonna keep Walker, Sealer, and Lawton all at the deadline. Everyone's gonna be pissed off, and they're making a run.
They keep everyone. They sneak in. They smuggle Michkov over by round 1. Drysdale comes back for round 2. They start.
That 30 for 30 documentary on that would be incredible.
Michkov can bring Kolosov with him. We have a solid backup that goes on one of those historic goalie runs in the playoffs.
No, in all seriousness, I do think that Briere brings us the cup. Not necessarily this year. Pending Michkov smuggling. If we get him over here, then who knows? All bets are off.
There's enough of us. There's certainly enough of us that if we got serious about it, we could definitely go over there and get him. Like, there's no way we couldn't.
There's power in numbers.
Right. Yeah.
Can anybody drive a boat though? Like, we need at least one captain.
I've played so much Grand Theft Auto, I know exactly how to drive a boat. You're good. We're good. Call me Captain.
Bitch Cow's life depends on it. I'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, the things that I would do for that man.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh shit, so it's back over to me. I was having so much fun talking. I wasn't thinking about a question. Oh, all right. Let me try to get in here. All right, hold on. So, I think Paul's a little bit younger than me and Derek, but rank your top 5 sports radio personalities growing up. Who were the ones you listened to? Did you catch the midday show? Well, we listen to the morning show, late nights. Watch what top 5 were your favorites growing up? And I went to Paul last time, so Derek, you're on the spot.
See, I didn't grow up in Philly. I never lived in Philadelphia, so I never listened to any of the sports radio, and I feel like I'm better off for that. Maybe I'm wrong. I
don't have a top 5, and I'm happy about that. I feel like it's a badge of honor. I'm happy.
Could I give like my top 5 like podcasts that I listen to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll expand it to podcasts. You know what I mean?
Like, right off the bat, top of the list is High and Wide, and that's not just a pitch, saying, yeah, I love these guys because I'm important, but I love High and Wide. They're informative. It kind of is, whatever. But stick to hockey with Martitas. I love that stuff. Even Flyers Daily too.
I like Martitas when he was with Mike Miz.
I never liked Mike Miz. I got into it with him on the Pod Street account. He blocked me because he's a pussy.
No, I like Martitas when he was with Mike Miz because Martitas always drove hockey talk.
Right, and Mike Miz doesn't know a thing about hockey, so he okay, pal. Yeah, I forget what we argued about, but I gave it to him like, you're an idiot, man. And he's like, yeah, and then he blocked me. He responded, then blocked me, didn't even give me a chance to respond. So I'm like, you dork. Other podcasts, 5 Minute Major is a good one. Dave and Mastro, they're one of our affiliates with Pod Street. And yes, I listen to my own podcast just to make sure I'm not saying something stupid every week. Early on, Snow the Goalie, not Snow the Goalie the last like 2 years, like early on Snow the Goalie. Last 2 years, I've completely fallen out of favor with that. I'm not a big fan of it.
I will say they seem like they gotten a little arrogant. Is that a fair statement? Like they seem like they gotten like they're too good almost.
I think you're giving it lightly there. And again, I'm not here to like slander or put other people down, but yeah, like they're obviously good at what they do. I mean, Sanfilippo, I like Anthony Sanfilippo. I think he's great. I love Chris Therien as a player. I think like Therien can be a bit of a blowhard, but like he's played the game. He understands the ins and outs, whether that's front office or on the ice. Like I can respect that. And I have a lot of respect for that. Like Russ is a talker. That's what he's there to do, and that's what he does. And he engages and this and that. Like he's Jimmy Hart. Essentially,
bro, I was just gonna go there. I was like, I know you're a WWE guy. He's Jimmy Hart.
He's Jimmy Hart. He's the Jimmy Hart. Exactly.
I love how every week there's a couple WWE references.
Well, me and Derek are both WWE fans, so like it's gonna come up no matter what. Yeah.
Right. I'll actually be at WrestleMania this year too. So like I'm so stoked because it's in Philly, and I'm like, my wife got me tickets for Christmas last year, and like I posted the video on Twitter too, and my reaction was like, what? Like I was so excited. I'm like, I'm gonna get to see Cody Rhodes finish his story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I gave more than 5 there, but regardless.
No, I like that. Good. Go, Paul.
I'm a bad person to ask for this too. I didn't really listen. I would like hear it occasionally when I'd be in the car with my dad growing up. Was just never a huge fan of the personalities very much, and they hardly ever talked about hockey, or if they did, I hated it. So I never tuned in religiously to have a top 5. As far as podcasts that I listen to, like
man, dude, I actually thought there'd be a little more give and take on this one, man, because I used to listen to sports talk radio all the time. Like it's what I listened to. I used to listen to Gargano and Steve Moderato on the midday show. Then it was Gargano and Glenn Mack. Now I listen to Tony Bruno. I love the radio wars when Josh Ennis was on there, and like 97.5 and WIP were like changing personalities almost like weekly. It seemed like to me, like I just loved radio at the time. So the fact that you guys are both like, yeah, I didn't listen to radio. I'm like, well, shit. I'm like,
I remember reading tweets about those wars.
Yeah,
but yeah, never was tuning in to have a side in the fight.
Radio's just become a bunch of blowhards at this point. Like it's whoever's the loudest and has the loudest opinion. Like that's how you gain the notoriety. And like that's I used to be
trying
like
to rile people up to get callers in, and like
exactly,
and it just annoys me.
Yeah, and like when I was a kid, I had a big mouth. I still have a big mouth, but like I can temper it, because I'm an adult now, sort of. But like it's not worth the trouble. Like I'm not going to go on our podcast and just make these ridiculous, outrageous statements to try to get people to listen. It's pointless.
I liked how you said like I'm an adult now, sort of, because going to his 50th birthday party, we got tasked with picking up the balloons, the 5-0 and a happy birthday one, right? So we stop at a Michael's to get these balloons, and while we're standing there waiting for them to like blow up the balloons, and then we'll go pay for them. I grab a packet of candy off the shelf and like put it on the counter. And my wife's like, "What are you doing? We're going to dinner." I was like, "Yeah, like, but I want to get these." So then the lady goes to ring it up, and she like doesn't scan the candy. I'm like, "Oh no, here, like, you need to scan this too. We're getting it because I'm a child."
It's so true.
Yeah.
My wife yells at me all the time too, because like I'll bicker with my son, my 4-year-old son, and she's like, it's like you both children. I've got 3 kids now, and I'm just like, you knew this when we got married before we even have kids.
We have 2 huskies, and my wife says the same thing. We have no children and 2 dogs, but she says the exact same thing. I have 3 children in this house. I'm like, you have none. You technically have 0 children in this house.
You have none. Good day. And I've just accepted it. I mean, growing up, my dad was the same way. He was a big kid, so like, it's just hey, it's in the gene pool.
Yeah. All right, anyway, so over to the big kid. It's your question, man.
All right, so, bang one, kill one, marry. No, I'm kidding. I did that one time. I caught everybody off guard on Pod Street.
Daryl Powell, Blair Betts, Dana Briere.
Oh, all right. So if you think of the Flyers podcasts out there, if you yourself had to replace one personality from any show, who would it be and why? And I'll start with I think I started with Dave last time. I'll start with Paul.
Probably Jim from High and Wide. He's just not that bright.
But he has a great shirt game, man. He shows up in some solid shirts sometimes.
I'm trying to think. I only really tune into like outside the High and Wide network. I will occasionally listen to Charlie and Bill if it's depending on what game just happened or what news is going on. They both do a solid job, so I'm not trying to replace any of them. Is Chris Therien still on the goalie? I'm going to replace him because he was getting very annoying the last couple of years. So I'm going to take him out and save the fan base a little bit there.
All right. Same question to you, Dave.
Yeah, no, actually, so I was going to go with Russ from Snow to Goalie because I want to beat Jimmy Hart. So that's great. You're going to take over Therien. I'm going to come on and be the heel manager. Like, that's where I want it to be.
It's a lot of pressure on me to take over for San Filippo. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be. You have to have integrity and actually do a job, Derek. If you take over for Ansan.
Yeah, Christ, thanks for leaving me with the easy one, guys.
Snow the Goalie.
I think.
Well, you might actually get your questions answered by Torts. So
true, that is true.
You could replace them.
I got a question answered one time by Dave Haxtell.
What's that?
I said, when do you think Torts is going to drop that shit? Like, I feel like he's going to hold a grudge.
Yeah,
like I feel like
he'll hold it. Yeah. He will hold that grudge, and I think it's funny. I like teeter on it because like I've been in media, like working with news, writing at PSN. Like I was at the games, I was in the pressers, I was asking questions. Like I have that soft spot for the guys trying to do their job, and when the coach won't allow for it, like that's frustrating. But from a fan standpoint, I'm laughing the entire time. I'm like, this is great. Like it's entertaining, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to be entertained. Like,
Right. Yeah. I
like,
don't care. It's like, hey, I'm not going to answer your questions. Like, why? Like, I just don't like him. They're like, oh, okay, cool.
one of these times I want, somebody to like fire back. Like, Anson tries to ask a question. Torts goes, I'm not taking your questions. And then another like reporter goes, well, I'd like to ask you why you're not taking his questions. And I would just want Twitterell to be like, are you not entertained? Like Russell Crowe and Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
Like, because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
It'd be like Crosby. Like, I just don't like him.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd
All
be
right,
good.
Paul. You got the last one.
All right, let's stick with the Flyers. If you could put one former player on the team that isn't like Bobby Clark, Eric Lindros, Chris Pronger, the super obvious ones, on the current team or for the next couple of years, who would it be? We'll go to Dave first.
Michael Remberg.
Ooh.
Yeah, Remberg.
Not a center, huh?
Yeah, he played. Well, here's the thing. He played with some great players, was on some great teams, and I like players that have been around that way. The guy put the work in. He was one of those guys that could play with superstars. In theory, we have superstars coming over soon, and that's somebody I want them to be able to play with, right? I think he can lay a foundation. He brings a winning attitude. Again, we didn't win a cup with him, but he was somebody that was a part of the Legion of Doom line. It's one of the greatest lines in the history of the Flyers. That particular line, I want somebody that's been around that kind of greatness.
I like that. Your reasoning's making me think of Justin Williams as well.
Another one, yeah, Mr. Game 7, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Derek?
Claude Giroux. I'm kidding.
Bring it back.
Let's discuss that some more.
I'm going to go Bill Barber.
Ooh,
I'm going to go Bill Barber.
One of my dad's favorites.
I want a guy that's going to score goals, not just goals, but also put up assists. It was between him and Tim Kerr. I was like, Tim Kerr would be pretty nice on this team right now. But goals, scoring goals, bring them to me. I don't need anybody to set them up, just score them. And I think he would be a great fit on this team right now.
I like it. Good choices.
Paul, you got one?
I mean, my heart wants Gagne just because he's my favorite ever. I feel like I got to go with the center though with the Flyers, current status here. So I mean, is Primo too obvious? Primo would be a good one to add.
I would say he's too obvious just because I brought him up earlier.
Too obvious? Yeah, that might be why he's in my head.
Michael Hanzus.
Ooh, Hanzus, call back there.
I used to have a Hanzus jersey that I would wear when we played floor hockey intramurals in Millersville.
I have a Danny Briere jersey that my wife wears to bed a lot, and I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, you look really sexy in that.
Side story on that, I used to see a girl who was a Pens fan and like diehard Penguins fan, and we would just we were hanging out in college, and so we all graduated and then hanging out, yeah, quote unquote. So I had her over to my apartment one time when I lived on my own in York, just downtown. I'm like, hey, come out for a couple drinks, let's hang out. And one thing led to another, and we both came back to the apartment, we're just trashed, and I'm just like, hey, put this on. I threw her my Claude Giroux jersey, and she's like, looked at me, and I'm just like, come on, put it on, it looks sexy. And she did, and I'm like, yes.
I love it.
It was great. It was awesome.
All right, Paul, real answer. We're saying Primo doesn't count. You're going back on the spot.
All right, how about Mike Richards? Does he count?
Yeah, we'll Mike Richards come out. This team could use some attitude. I'm not gonna.
I love Mike Richards.
We could use a little Richie back in
Mike
our lives.
Richards. I mean, I even at the time I wasn't entirely against the trades. I don't know why. I think I was just excited with things happening, but I would have loved Richards to stick around for a little longer. I mean, he didn't last that long in general. His career wore down around 30, but he was just the best. He was the man.
Yeah, it did. He electrified,
played so hard. He dragged everybody into the fight every night. Hit people. He had underrated skill. I think he was like a point per game player a couple of years there.
Yeah. Plus, you gotta respect a guy that's willing to smuggle prescription drugs across international borders. Like,
You
gotta
know he's
respect
gonna
the
be good
Stones.
for the boys. You know.
Yeah, you gotta respect him with the Stones to try to pull that shit off.
Oh,
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Midnight Misconduct. A little different format. I enjoyed it. I thought we had a lot of different conversations and nice little rapid fire kind of session there. For Derek, for Paul, I'm Delco Dave. Check out all of the High and Wide Hockey Network, Pod Street Bullies, HW Radio, Time I Skates, and for the listeners of 102.9 The Game, download the app, check it out. Broad Street South Podcast Network. Everybody have a good night.